is our new member of the Academy, and he became a member last year. Hui Yu is a Chang'an scholar, distinguished professor of Chinese Ministry of Education, the only musicologist receiving the highest academic honor in social sciences and humanities in China. He is also the director of the Center for Ethnomusicology at Yunnan University and the chair professor of Xiamen University. He received his PhD in ethnomusicology from Wesleyan University in America in 2000, and he taught at the Shanghai Conservatory of Music, the University of British Columbia, and also Wesleyan University in America. Since the 2000s, he has also served as the Dean of Arts at Shenyang Normal University, Ningbo University, and Yunnan University in China. Yu is the author of numerous articles published in China, and not only in China, in the whole world, in the research areas of ethnic musicology, digital musicology, Chinese folk music traditions, and ancient Chinese music theory. In addition to being the co-editor of the Oxford Handbook, Music in China, and a contributor to the New Grove Dictionary of Musical Instruments, he is also the chief editor of 4 book series and an author, chapter contributor, and editor of more than 10 books from publishers in China and the West in Chinese, English, and Russian, including Routledge Press, Oxford University, Springer Nature Press, Peter Lang Publishing, Moscow State University Press, and Zhejiang University Press. Yu is also the co-president of the Council for Asian Musicology, co-editor of the International Music Journal Asian Musicology, and also the vice president and secretary general of the Oriental Music Society of China. I am very happy to invite you, Hui Yu, for the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, let's start. Can you see it?
Fine, fine.
Okay, great. Thank you, President Mainder. Thank you, Violeta and Ioannis. I'm great honor and to have this opportunity to give this presentation in this colloquium of science meets art, from which I have learned a great deal from the excellent speakers in our previous sessions. This presentation is to introduce an interdisciplinary field in art and science from ancient China. The discipline of research is called Lixue, or the study of Li. The Chinese term of Li is very complicated, and the discipline research is basically means that musical pitch within a tuning system. So this field can be roughly translated as the study of music pitches or the study of music intonation or the music temperament. Different from many previous presentations, most rich discusses the beauty of symmetry, balance, and the golden section and mathematical sequence in both nature and artistic objects. This presentation is to introduce an interdisciplinary field in the ancient China. So some of the basic knowledge of this key terms is helpful to understand this issue. This is a very complicated disciplinary research field, which I will be introducing. Those are like tuning refers to the pitching of only just intervals made up of whole ratios, while temperament refers to the slightly alternation of those just tuning intervals, irrational ratios. Comma is a very small interval. The difference resulting from turning one note in different ways. And also cent is a logarithmic unit of measurement used for music intervals. A 12-tone equal temperament divides the octave into 12 semitones of 100 cents each. The harmonic series is a set of frequencies consisting of fundamental and harmonic related to it by an octave. So you can see this the last picture is harmonic series. That is when you place one key on the piano, it generates actually so many harmonics. So this is a basic physical phenomenon to study the music pitches. Now, it is well known in the West that Pythagoras was the first person who discovered the mathematical nature of the music intervals. In most cases, the Chinese students do not know the details of the Pythagorean theory, but rather only the Chinese one, which I will be introducing in the following. Pythagoreanism is the most fundamental tenet, including numbers are constituent elements of reality, and numbers and their ratios provide the key to explaining the order of nature and the universe. These tenets epitomize the central doctrine of Pythagorean philosophy and the science. The metaphysical significance of numbers transcends the computational utility. That is Pythagoreanism, the tenet. One of the most important Pythagorean symbols are the tetrachord. Tetrachord is an arrangement of points in shapes of a triangle and represent the first four natural numbers whose sum is 10. That is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. From the integral constituents of the Pythagorean tetrachords arise the ratios of the harmonics intervals of consonants. The unison 1 to 1, the octave 2 to 1, the fifth 3 to 2, and the fourth 4 to 3. The cosmological order was demonstrated in this ratio of the lengths of the vibrating strings in the music terms. Now, the research into music pitches and the tuning system has been regarded as a very important area of investigation in ancient China. Numerous ancient documents recorded the process and the results of this area of research in ancient China. In China, one octave was divided into 12 pitches between half steps for each, known as 12 li. Regards to the origin of the 12 li in ancient China, one octave was divided into 12 pitches between half steps for each, known as the 12 li. As regards to the origin of the li in ancient China, the earliest record is in the Liritzis Chunqiu record, following stating that in 2000 BCE, China's Yellow Emperor ordered his music official Lin Lun to create a li. Lin Lun selected bamboo joints from a place near the Mount Kunlun and constructed 12 li according to the cries of the phoenix. Then, using the bamboo pipe with 3.9 Chinese inches between its joints, he made the gong of Huangzhong its standard pitch. So I have to explain that the very important term of the gong and Huangzhong. The gong is almost like in today's English music series, like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. In China, it's gong, shang, jiao, zhi, yu. but they are not exactly the same, but similar. Huanzhong is almost like the in English term is C, D, E, like the pitch, like the current Western pitch names. Nevertheless, from archaeological discoveries, the 16th century BCE's music instruments produced sounds varying from 2 or 3 to 6 or 7, but could not yet produce a whole 12th Li. Therefore, the theory that the Lingnan invented the 12th Li would be somewhat exaggerated. But the legend shows that the ancient Chinese had already realized that the music pitch could be recorded and preserved by pitch pipes. They had also realized that a pitch pipe of a certain length could be used to determine standard pitch of scale. The term of Huanzhong was the name of standard pitch, as like I explained before, which is equivalent to today's. Like we have international standard pitch in which A above middle C is tuned to 440 hertz. The international standard pitch was adopted in the Western world for concert music only in the 20th century, after a long history of unstandard pitch. The Chinese Huanzhong is equivalent to that of C itself. The central pitch, that is the central pitch for any scale. After discovering of 12th Li in the music system, the Chinese also give the name of each. So you can see this the 12th name of the 12th pitch in Chinese. Earliest record, the earliest record of these names is found in Zhouyu section of Guoyu, that is about the 5th century BCE. This record can be trusted because in 1978, a set of Bianzhong or bell set was excavated in Suixian County of Hubei province, which was buried in 433 BCE. It consisted of 64 bells, each of which produced 2 pitches. The pitches range over 5 octaves, and in the central part of the range were divided into 12 semitones. This proves that the 12th Li recorded in Guoyu had in fact already entered the music practice in that period. In ancient China, the study of music pitch and the tuning system was always considered related to mathematics, astronomical calendar, meteorology, philosophy of yin-yang and the 5 elements, and even political matters. Music tuning was treated as a measurement system akin to length, volume, and weight. Each Chinese dynasty published standards of the music pitches, lengths, volumes, and weight. The music pitch was considered to exist on the same level as heaven and earth. A Shangshu, one of the earliest 5 classics of ancient Chinese literature, mentioning that harmonizing time by adopting the right calendar, unifying the measurement of length, volume, and weight with the same music pitch. So when a Wang usurped the imperial throne and established a short-lived Xin dynasty, that is around 9 to 27 He used the sound as a foundation for imperial meteorological standardization as part of his declaration of power. The ability to control sound was considered to reflect his ability to synchronize heaven and earth, and the cosmic and human. The image of his authority and ruling legitimacy rested in the physical dimensions of a single pitch pipe that produced the cardinal tone in the traditional music system. So the picture shows that what Wangma used almost 2,000 years ago. It was activated many years before, and the other one is the pipe used in the ancient China. So as for how the Liu was produced, the earliest are found in Guanzi by Guanzhong, that is around 645 BCE of the spring and autumn period. The Diyuan section of this book explains how to produce the Liu by using the so-called 1/3 reduction and addition method, which is called Sanfen Senyi method in China. The 1/3 reduction means first dividing the sound-producing body into 3 equal parts. 2/3 of the length of the original produce a pitch of perfect fifth above it, and what 1/3 addition means lengthening the body of the sound-producing object by 1/3, and thus producing a pitch of perfect fourth below. The work Guanzi established the gong as like a 81, which is called pitch name, and by applying this method in sequence, produce the total of 5 Li that is original of the pentatonic scale. So this is the pictures showing how the Sanfen Senyi works. That is the used in Chinese music. That is first literature recorded in Chinese history. Later on, in the book of Lü Shi Chunqiu, that is about 239 BCE, based on the 5 Li given by the Guanzi, then this book continued to apply the Sanfen Senyi method to produce the other 7 Li, making the total of 12 in all, but it did not assign the numerical values to them as what the Guanzi did. The book Huilanzi, edited by the Liu An, which is about 179 to 122 BCE of the Han Dynasty, attempted to use the number 81 for Huangzhong, but it was discovered that in the 5th Sanfen Senyi calculation, the note Yinzhong did not come to the round figure, so they established a separate Li number. That is 177147 for Huangzhong. In this way, all 12 Li obtained by Sanfen Senyi could be expressed in round figure without using decimal points or the fraction. Later on, in the Lü Shu section of Shi Ji, an historical record by Sima Qian, which is about 145 to 89 BCE, adopted the form of fraction. In this work, Huangzhong is set as 1, and the other 11 Li are all expressed fractionally. Basic principle is similar to that of ancient Greek Pythagorean tuning, which is why some scholars equated the two. So this is a comparison between different historical records in China regarding how to use the Sanfen Senyi method to generate the 12 pitches. So we can see that the methods are different. I mean, the results are different depending on what the initial pitch they are going to use. In Shi Ji, they just use 1. We can see that they are involve a lot of fractions. And if we use the so the first one, you can see that the Guanzi use 81. So all 5 pitches are in digital numbers, no fractions, no decimal point. So in fact, the Chinese method resulted in ascending perfect fifth and descending perfect fourth. The Pythagorean tuning involves ascending perfect fifth and descending perfect fifth. Therefore, 6 of the 12 Li between these two are similar, while the other 6 are different. it can be seen that the accidentals in the Chinese system are all written as sharps, and the zhongli can only be noted as a Ji sharp. Under the Pythagorean method, one could produce the pitch F, a perfect fourth below, and then transposing it up an octave. You can see that the where I marked the six pitches, that is, those are different between the Pythagorean method and the Chinese method. So in fact, those two are not exactly the same. The earliest theoretic account of Chinese music available in a European language is written by Joseph Amoy in Beijing in 1776 and published in Paris in 1780. Amoy accepted the traditional dating of Chinese history and believed that music in China originated in the year 2698 BCE. By this reckoning, the Chinese would have had a scale closely resembling the Pythagorean scale in many of its intervals, more than 11 centuries before the birth of Pythagoras. He concluded that Pythagorean claim for the invention of this scale was nothing less than an act of robbery, and assumed that Pythagoras, who was noted for his travels, must either have gone to China or met someone from China who transmitted the secrets of the scale. Noting that the Greek scale differed somewhat from the Chinese one, he then concluded that the Greek version was a degenerate one. The noted Chinese historian Zhu Qianzhi considered the Greek system was more advanced in utilizing the string length to do the calculation, while the Chinese one was more primitive in using pitch pipes. Therefore, the Chinese system probably somehow spread to the Greeks and was developed there. But Chinese later on learned from the Greeks when realizing the limitation of the pitch pipes for calculation. Joseph Lavicza, the author of the famous book Science and Civilization in China, proposed that the simplest alternation hypothesis for which good reason can be found is that they radiated east and west from the Babylonian, a germ of an acoustic discovery which was developed in one way by Greeks and in the other by the Chinese. The Babylonian, who had many highly developed string instruments, would have made the observation. In ancient China, a year was divided into 12 lunar months, a day into 12 double hours, and an octave into 12 notes. These divisions was believed to be connected to societal order and the rules. The link between the study of music pitches and the other between pitches and the other scientific research proved an important stimulus in the area of scholars discovered that the movement of heavenly bodies, the sequence of seasons, and the succession of night and day all returned to their starting point, but the scale calculated using the Sanfen-Seyi method did not. Therefore, since the Han Dynasty, that is to about the 200 BCE to 200 CE, scholars have researched for ways to close the gap generated by the Sanfen-Seyi method to make the fundamental pitch, yellow bell, or the Huangzhong, to return to its starting note after multiple cycles of 5th generations. So according to a historical record, it was Jin Fang of Tang Dynasty, who was first to discover that the cycle of the fifth did not return to the original Huangzhong pitch, as there was a discrepancy between the starting and the ending note. This discrepancy is what now called diatonic comma or Pythagorean comma, and its value is 23.5 cents, rounded off 24 cents. So in order to solve the problem, Jinfang continued to use the Sanfeng-Yi method to produce up to 60 Li in one octave. The number of the 53rd Li in his system is very close to Huangzhong, and its difference was called 1 day by Jinfang at the time. Nowadays, we call it Jinfang comma in China, with its value being 3.615 cents, which was the smallest comma that human being ever understood during that time. Jinfang's discovery of the shortcoming of the 12 Li produced by the Sanfeng-Yi method and his subsequent division of the octave into 6 Li was a pioneering step in history of Chinese tuning studies, and his result was inherited by the later scholars and recommended to the emperors for adoption. Later on, in the so this is a number. This is the mathematical formula that Jinfang used, and also later used by the Western scientists. So later on in the West, during the Renaissance of the 17th century, Nicholas Mercator, William Hodder, and Isaac Newton also engaged in this area of research and made similar discoveries. The so-called 53-tone equal temperament, or Mercator's comma, was similar or identical discovery to what Jinfang had discovered more than 1700 years earlier, and they were all based on the same mathematical formula. That is the mathematical formula. See, this is the 53. This is the method used by many Western scientists. So this is the book written by William Hodder. In this book, Hodder explains that the Mercator's comma, that is the exact same as what Jinfang discovered 1700 years ago. And this one is manuscripts by Isaac Newton and preserved in the Oxford University Library. And in the West, before the one moment. In the West, before the end of the 15th century, a new type of monochord division was becoming popular, namely division based on both the just fifths, that is 2 to 3, and the just major third, 4 to 5. Despite its high theoretical prestige in the 16th century, just intonation was already known to be an inappropriate tuning system for keyboard. Also, any solution to the problem inevitably involves alternation of tempering certain intervals. So see, this is the keyboard invented during that time, which we can see that is very inconvenient to play. But this is necessary to keep the just intonation playable. The biggest difference between the current piano keyboard is that we can see that many of the keys, they have to use the two, divide into two, because we see that one note, they have two different pitches. That is the just intonation. Then this theory is was invented in the West. Well, the modern Chinese musicological research discovered that the structure of the Guqin caesar made the just intonation possible on music practice 2,000 years ago, although no historical literature ever mentioned this tuning system, because the Sanfen Yi was considered the only authentic tuning system and the classical tuning system in the country. And Guqin is one of China's most ancient plucked stringed instruments. Structure of 7 string and the 13 inlays had already been established in the Han and Wei period, that is about 200 BCE. From analysis of the early Guqin scores, today's musicologists concluded the instrument did use the score tuned to just intonation as seen in the West music theory. So this is a West music theory and Chinese practice. So this is how that Guqin can play the just intonation. We see that the 13 inlays was played on the surface of the instrument according to certain ratios. And those ratios, especially the 3rd one, 6th one, the 8th one, 11th one, you see there's the denominator is 5, all in 5. And this is the ratio that generates the interval that is pure. And that is in the harmonic series. That is a 5th harmonic series ratio. So we can see all the denominators 5 is the ratio generates the perfect 3rd interval, which is essential for the just intonation. So this is how the Guqin is played.
Who you? May I interrupt you for a second? How
okay.
long?
Oh, I will be
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be finished. Okay, I'll be finished soon. Okay, early investigation of equal temperament. And these are the other Chinese music discoveries by He by the other ones. Let me quickly finish this. So this is another discovery that I want to He did the new system, which he wants to reach the 12 equal temperaments. It is the you see that's still a difference between the tuning 12 tuning system, 12 equal temperament and his system. And there's another one by the in 400 BCE by Chen Lezhi, and this is all the approaches to want to resolve the problem to let the original note return to its original. So you see this is a summary of the ancient Chinese approach to resolve this big problem. And also, during in the West, before the 12-tone equal temperament was discovered, there was something called mid-tone temperament, which is already not 12-tone equal temperament, but it makes the 3rd pure, and the approach to make the C to D and D to E equal. So this is the difference between the 4 different intonations. The most famous one is this Johann Sebastian Bach's well-tempered clavier. And this is finally the equal temperament by Zhu Yu and Simon Stevens. The calculation of the tempered intervals was first performed toward the end of the 16th century by Dutch mathematician engineer Simon Stevens. As a mathematician, Stevens realized that the string length of the equal tempered monocle required root extraction, which is in this case, a combination of 1 cubed root and 2 square roots. And meanwhile, in China, by the 16th century, the Ming Danish scientist Zhu Yu finally completed his mathematical calculations of 12-tone equal temperament. He called it Qinfa Lianyu, or the new method of height rate. And he still used the Sanfen Yu method to change the denominators, but he still, the number he called secret number, and it was actually extracted from 12 square roots of 2, and he also used the cubic root and 2 of the square root. So we can see the difference. Zhu Yu's discovery is 4 years earlier than Simon Stevens. this is 25 digits. And Simon Stevens only have like 5 digits. We see that in the bottom, this we see that many numbers are inaccurate. Even after 200 years publication, editor has to correct those numbers. So the Zhuzi discovery could be considered using the traditional method of Danfeng in resolve the fundamental problem of Chinese tuning studies for 1,000 years. The detailed process of extracting 12 square root of 2 is still a mystery. So, the ancient Chinese tuning system considered the central pitch, Gong or Huangzhong, the emperor, and the court. So its relationship with other pitches was deemed important, but the relationship among other subordinate notes themselves were not supposed to be equally important. Zhuzi's bypass of the equal temperament calculation yielded the first mathematical realization of 12-tone equal temperament, which is at least 4 years earlier than the similar work done by Simon Stevens, whose discovery, according to himself, was attributed to the concept of proportion in the Dutch language, which did not exist in Greek. So, Litam speculated that
excuse me, who you? We have to summary. Okay, good.
Summary, okay. Summary, okay. The research of the mathematical and acoustic law in music was systematically recorded in official histories in ancient China, where scientists and music scholars continued to resolve the problem of how to close a cycle of fifths caused by the diatonic or the Pythagorean comma on the metaphysical beat. From the monograph of the history of music theory today, we would glean the work scientists had made outstanding contributions to resolving some of the music problems of the past. By inheriting the ancient scholastic tradition of integrated knowledge and learning in both art and science, we could revitalize the tremendous human creativity in the new age of the 21st century and spark a new phenomenon in our education, technology, artistic creativity, and the entrepreneurial industries. Thank you very much. Sorry for this delay. All right.
Thank you very much for you. And now we have Ioannis. Please, can you present the next speaker? And at the end, we shall have questions for you also. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear colleague. It was exciting, the lecture. I very much have enjoyed it. And many questions have emerged, which we shall discuss later. Now, let us move to our second speaker, which is Zsolt Lavicza, integrating the arts into the STEM education. I would like to introduce our colleague. It's Professor Zsolt Lavicza. Yes? It's Linz School of Education, STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics, Education Center in the Johannes Kepler University, Linz, Austria. And he's a member of our academy in class 4, which is the Natural Sciences. After receiving his degrees in mathematics and physics in Hungary, Zsolt began his postgraduate studies in applied mathematics at the University of Cincinnati. While teaching mathematics in Cincinnati, he became interested in researching issues in the teaching and learning mathematics. In particular, please mute your... Mitchell, can you please mute the speaker? Someone is speaking. In particular, he focused on investigating issues in relation to the use of technology in undergraduate mathematics education. Afterwards, both at the University of Michigan and Cambridge, he was worked on several research projects examining technology and mathematics teaching in a variety of classroom environments. In addition, our speaker has greatly contributed to the development of the GeoGebra community and participated in developing research projects on GeoGebra and related technologies worldwide. Currently, Zsolt is a full professor in STEM education research methods at Johannes Kepler University, and from the JKU University, he's working on numerous research projects worldwide related to the technology integration into schools, leading the doctoral program in STEM education, science, technology, engineering, mathematics in arts, teaching educational research methods worldwide, and coordinates research projects within the International GeoGebra Institute. His most cited article, as far as I could find, in Google, is the Teaching and Learning Calculus with Free Dynamic Mathematics Software GeoGebra in 2008. I am impressed that Zsolt Lavicza is extremely active during the last 2 years, having almost 30 articles published or in press. I'm very glad to have you with us, Zsolt, and the digital floor platform is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for your invitation. For Ioannis and Violeta, I'm very glad to be here and to share my work, and especially my students and colleagues' work here. So as Ioannis mentioned, that I'm originally a mathematician and then working on education. So I would like to give you an overview of my work. So just the background of what we are doing, and then also how we are doing research on STEAM education. How do we integrate arts and creativity into education? I will give you some very little background of innovation and theories and methodologies, and then also what kind of activities we are working on. So currently I'm working in the Lean School of Education. So I'm the head of the doctoral school. So we have more than 40 PhD students working on STEAM education topics and working on different kind of activities. So then these are the topics what I will show you today. And also we are developing joint doctoral programs in South America and with Tallinn University. And we are very happy to host lots of visitors and so on. So our doctoral program is based on my experience in the University of Cambridge. I was leading the research courses there. So it's very similar way what we are doing in Linz. But also we are working on not only STEAM education, we have different kind of technology development, and also we work on mathematics education, robotics, computer science, and so on. And as Ioannis mentioned, that we are developing GeoGebra. So I have been working with Professor Markus Hohenwarter on the development of GeoGebra. He was working on the programming, and I was working with the community. So probably some of you know GeoGebra. It's originally a software for teaching mathematics, but now it's become a quite extensive software for teaching all different kind of sciences, and then it has lots of functionalities. So we have lots of new developments. I will show some of these developments. And this is an open source project, and then we have more than 100 million users all around the world. So essentially all countries are using GeoGebra, and then it's becoming integrated in the curriculum more intensively. And also GeoGebra is used in all ages, from kindergarten to university, and then many different kind of subjects. But what we have is a large community around the world who are developing materials for GeoGebra. So every day there are probably 5,000–7,000 new materials are shared for GeoGebra. So there are more than 2 million resources already available on our site. So this is the basis of our development with technology and the arts. And then also this community has members all around the world. So we have more than 200 GeoGebra institutes in about 120 countries, where we are collaborating on different research projects, training teachers, and then integrating technology into this into the education system, or into teacher education, or into schools. So then the main topic I would like to show you is research and technology innovation, and especially connecting technology with the art. So most of our work is based on creativities. So what we experienced that many times in schools, the creativity is being lost because of the curriculum. And then what we try to do is reintroduce or encourage creativity into education. So how can we do this? We are looking at most of the time this transdisciplinary education, that we are trying to connect different disciplines and then use creative approaches and then also creative pedagogies for doing this kind of work. So what is our goal is trying to create conditions or environments or ecosystems to provide technology and then provide different kind of resources and materials for these innovative approaches. So I would like to give you some examples of our work, and then also how we are connecting it with arts, but we are trying to define arts in a way that creativity, creation, and development, and then we are trying to have in this kind of conditions. So what we are doing is technological innovation, and to this innovation we are developing technology for all different kinds of devices. So originally we developed for desktop computers, but now most of our use on mobile devices. But we are trying to go to the next phase, to augmented reality and virtual reality. I will show you some examples of this. But what we found, especially during the pandemic, that we needed connection between students and teachers. So we created a GeoGebra classroom environment, which is a kind of virtual classroom when the teachers and the students can work together and work on these different kind of topic. So my PhD students are working on all of these in these topics. So I have some names who are working in these topics in this kind of in the slides. So one of our direction for the new development of technologies is augmented reality. So what we can do, we can have augmented reality applications in the classroom. And then, for example, students can go and then model their environments. And through this kind of modeling, like everyday objects, they will be able to learn mathematics or science or art through this kind of activity. So for example, there is this modeling activity, but there are tens of thousands of these examples, and then we are working with students to use in this kind of modeling. And also, what we can do that use, for example, mathematical objects, and then put these mathematical objects into the room and explore it. And then later I will show that how we can use this modeling with connection with culture and arts and so on. So through this, we can also move to the physical direction. So we are working a lot with 3D printing, and then we are trying to develop materials, which I will show many of these materials, to teach different kind of subjects and also connect different subjects. But we also, and the topic of my talk, that how we connect arts with creation and creativity. We have a connection with about 300 artists who are developing these resources with 3D printing, with augmented reality, and different resources as well. And then also we try to use machine learning to show or to connect the data streaming from students, but I think it's a different talk than what I will talk later. So how do we use in this kind of pedagogical innovation, and then how do we look at arts and then different topics in educational environment? So what we try to do is before I go to the exact arts, we are developing lots of games with students, but games both virtually and physically. and then also try to introduce the creativity, and then also the different kind of aesthetic dimensions into these games. And what we found is that not only developing games, but having the students develop the games gives lots of opportunities for learning, and then also lots of opportunities for teaching. So we are trying to produce these kind of examples and try to come up with a kind of new era of manipulatives, both in the classroom and beyond the classroom, which is connecting the physical and the digital world. So then that's why we are trying to look at these transitions between these environments, and then encourage students to work with in these environments. And then you can see that many of these activities are coming from artistic artistic point of view as well. So for example, these are puzzles which are developed by our students, both 2-dimension and 3-dimension, very simple mathematical expressions, and then we can turn it into both digital and physical object as well. And also, what we try to do is try to work with artists. So this is a game called Logifaces, which is developed by a Hungarian artist, to see that how in this game, Logifaces, which is, and the aim of the game is creating a continuous surface from these prisms. And now we are developing classroom activities to teach mathematics, arts, and different topics, and architecture within this kind of existing games as well. So then this is my team of students who are trying to create, and then based on this, for example, the Logifaces game, we can teach the different creative activities. So now we can 3D print the game, and then try to come up with examples and show students that how we can work within these activities as well. Or another approach, one that we tried with the students, then that we created a competition for students to divide the cube into equal volumes. So there are infinite many solutions, and then these are some of the results that the students came up with, and then we are creating games from these activities as well. So very simple ideas, but it could be very innovative and creative approaches to do this. And then also we're running a teacher education course and trying to come up with new games. By the games were designed by the teachers. So for example, then this is a game which was the idea that how we can move the Voronoi diagram, which probably many of you know, into a 3-dimensional object, and then also how we can create a puzzle from this. So then this is a game designed by one of the prospective teachers in Linz. And then also another solution was we can create, for example, cookie cutters. So we can teach geometry, we can teach symmetries as well, but also we can use the 3D printing activity to create cookie cutters, and then we can eat mathematics together with students, and then show these, and then coming up in different kind of solutions. So all of the work which I'm showing you here, we have lots of papers. So we published about 200 papers about these activities. So I will share all of the resources with you. So I just want to give you an overview of what we are doing and then what is possible. So we also try to teach 3D printing. So we created a wooden printer, and then students have to assemble this printer and then also create their own printing solution. Another very interesting game which is done by a student teacher is that we can create the game in the physical world. So we printed parts of the game and then used augmented reality in the other half of the game. So to solve the game, the students have to work together with the augmented reality objects and the 3D printed objects, and then use them in this kind of game to have some creative solutions based on the rules. And then also another interesting approach, what we try to do with my student Imam from Indonesia, is creating micro games. So micro games are just very short games, like 5 minutes to solve in this kind of games, and then it can introduce some topics, but also it focuses the students to be present in the classroom. So we are making a large collection of these games and then introduce it in the classroom. So all of the resources is available to look at. So we work with another artist from Hungary who created a polyuniverse game, and now we are publishing a book with resources that how to teach geometry, arts, combinatorics with this polyuniverse game. And then more recently, with the team of Ernő Rubik, we developed or we are working with the designers of the game based on the 100th anniversary of Piet Mondrian's birth, is to develop a game which is containing lots of artistic elements and then also mathematical elements of this. So in the last month, we just had a day in the New York Mathematical Museum playing or commemorating the 150th anniversary of Mondrian. So these are games in which we try to connect with arts, but we also try to look at culture. So how we can use culture in teaching mathematics connected with arts. So my student from Egypt, Shireen, is designing a tool to model architecture, ancient architecture from Egypt, and then also we can use modern architecture. So we are designing examples and the dashboards for students for teachers to choose that what kind of architectures they want to model, what is the age of the students, how they want to do this modeling in the physical, in the digital world, 3D printing or augmented reality or any kind of resources, and then also not only in the classroom but also in different environments like in museums and then so on. So we are running lots of workshops in many different countries. We had workshops in about 10 countries to see that the different solutions of the students with architecture and modeling, and then connecting mathematics and architecture and arts in this case as well. And my other student who just graduated in Luxembourg, working with a tool called MedCityMap. So then this is a GPS-based app where the students can follow trails in cities, and then they have tasks to model architecture or any kind of objects, and then they can do these solutions in GeoGebra, and then when they are back in the school, we are printing these resources for them. My other student from Uruguay, looking at Uruguayan architecture and then connecting it with 3D printing and augmented reality in the classroom. Or my student and colleague now, Kyung from South Korea, looking at astronomy and then ancient astronomical objects to teach mathematics and astronomy and different sciences. And also with my colleague who was with me this week from Israel, we are looking at Jewish culture and Jewish architecture. And we are developing a teacher training course for the Israeli yeshivas, where the students didn't learn mathematics before because they were just learning the Torah. And now what we try to do, we try to connect with the Jewish culture and then teach mathematics through the patterns of synagogues and different kind of architectures as well. But also we are looking at, for example, cultural objects. My student from Portugal is looking at Portuguese-speaking countries, Brazil, Portugal, Cape Verde, and Angola in Africa, that how we can use the cultural elements from these countries to introduce the different kind of pedagogical approaches in the classroom. Or in Indonesia, Pastita is looking at the different cultural elements, for example, shadow puppeting and Indonesian batik patterns to introduce into the classroom, and then use this in a hybrid learning environment. Also, my other colleagues in Indonesia is now currently in a big tour in Indonesia. We are developing hundreds of mathematical trails across Indonesia for students to explore the outdoors, the architecture, the culture, and then different elements within the culture. So we use the combination of different technologies and then also cultural and artistic elements of the students' environments as well. Another part, one where we are trying to connect students. So students are living in a particular media environment. So when we try to connect the culture where the students live, so for example, in the YouTubing culture. So my student from Iceland is creating short videos, or the students are creating very short videos, maybe half-minute or 1 minute, and students have to become YouTubers to explain these videos to each other, and then using this as a tool for learning, and then also for teaching each other or introducing some new topics in these environments. My other student, Julia, who also graduated in October, is looking at mathematical memes. So students are living in this media culture and using memes or having memes all the time, but we can use this kind of memes for introducing deep mathematical or scientific ideas to have students' attention, and then also it's a quiet, widespread environment where we can use this kind of memes as well. Or we could use digital comics. So then this is my new student from Indonesia is looking at different kind of digital comics to have students to create in these comics or memes as well. And I hope I have some more minutes. I have some examples with mathematics and arts. So connecting to Professor Yu presentation. So my student is designing a tool for teaching mathematics and music. And then also students can DJ with doing different musical activities. And it's becoming very successful. Or we are working in Singapore on creating sounds and then connecting music and functions. And we had a project in Cambridge connecting music and programming. So we were working on students to program, use computer coding and different programming to learn music and computer science as well. So what is very important is that we could involve girls in this kind of activities. So how much time do I have? Maybe 5 more minutes or?
Ioannis.
3 minutes.
Okay, so I think I have lots of these activities. We are working on mathematical jewelries to have girls and origami. Also, maybe I just give you an impression that how we are developing a STEAM activity and a STEAM classroom. So with my colleague in Finland, Christoph Fenyvesi, who is also part of the academy, and my student from Brazil, we have been developing in different activities. So for example, modeling the geodesic dome, which is a very important architectural element. and then it has very rich mathematical and cultural effects. So we are building these tomes based on a tool which is developed in Korea. And then also we are exploring the mathematics with a digital environment. So then the teachers can also do this kind of modeling in this environment. So we can explore the angles and the triangles, different kind of symmetries in this environment. But what happened is that it became a very attractive idea in Finland. So with my colleague, they set up a project to build the world's largest ice dome, and this was created by a team of architects and teachers and scientists, and it became a kind of national project where more than 7,000 students were participating. And then using this very simple idea of the geodesic dome, we could explore many cultural and scientific connections, of course, with the artistic connections. So we could use origami and architecture. And then we also thought that we can go to a next level. So we had a conference, and then we had a mathematical hairdressing as an art form as well. So we do lots of things with laser cutting. So then this is our new project on laser cutting and arts, modeling different, for example, calculus examples. We are looking at history and mathematics. So we are developing mazes, and then also mazes with augmented reality. So every student can walk their maze in this. We just published a very interesting paper about this. We are looking at mandalas. So we have workshops of mandalas with vegetables and then different topics. And then maybe I just give you, we have a tool on fractals. We just had an exhibition in Linz on new fractal arts. It's a SaaS software, but very important part of our arts element is connecting dancing and mathematics, or dancing and different sciences. So this is a show which we created in Belgrade on mathematics and computer science. And then this is a South African project to have any kind of movement describing the scientific backgrounds. Or my student from Mexico is looking at how to connect dancing and physics, and then we are creating videos and there are different explanation and performances, or dancing with robots and so on. Okay, so we had some competitions in South Africa on mathematical arts. We have photography and science. We have more than 10,000 students involved. We are trying to work with mathematical artists from all around the world, but I think I should finish. And I have lots of other things, so I will give you the link for this Prezi. And I wanted to talk about some theories, what we are developing, and then also the methodologies. But what I would like to finish is with our work in Linz. So we have we just organized one of the world's largest mathematical and art conference called Bridges. So we have mathematical arts, and then also we have very prestigious guests in these conferences as well. So Ernő Rubik was one of our speakers, and then also Laszlo Lovász, who is a very famous mathematician in the world. Okay, so maybe one more thing, that we have a group on Facebook. If you would like to join, it's arts and STEAM. So it's a STEAM education. So it's called GeoGebra Arts and STEAM. And then probably I just finish this, and then I share my presentation with you, and then maybe you can look at. Oh, and then we have lots of publications which I will also share with you. So sorry if it was a little bit longer than I expected. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this excellent presentation, Zsolt. And well, as a leading figure, you know, in this field in the world, you know, we are very proud to have you in as a member of the Academy and also as a speaker this evening. Indeed, the touring you did, you know, the voyage to the realm of STEAM and STEMAC, I could say, adding the culture as well. It was amazing. So many applications everywhere. So it's a lot of food for thought and collaboration, as you said. First, to hear how you are going to present, and then we can talk about cooperation. Thank you very much. Let us start with the questions. Violeta, would you
Yes,
like to
I would like.
ask the first speaker?
Please, for who you would you like, please, to ask questions or remarks? Who would like
short questions, if possible,
short questions?
and short remarks, because the time, you know.
For the first speaker, question for the first speaker.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Klaus. Yeah.
Okay. I have a very short question. In the last part of your talk, you mentioned Stephen, the famous Dutch mathematician and physicist in modern times, and he underlined the importance of rooting. That means square roots and cubic roots in musical theory. Now, my question is, you know, in the Pythagorean tradition, that was more or less a theory of proportionality of integers. And then, of course, there was a great symmetry breaking of harmony. I think it was in the 4th century before Christ, when Hippasus of Metapont, a Greek mathematician, discovered what we nowadays called irrational numbers. That means no rational proportion. My question is there a similar consideration in the Chinese tradition? When do the Chinese scholars become aware of this discovery of fractional numbers in mathematics and in the musical theory?
I'm not very sure if I understand the question very correctly, but the situation is that the Simon Stevens is, you know what, in Pythagorean system, we now call it Pythagorean tuning, and also the Chinese has a all very similar tuning system. So the problem is for both that we know that one octave have a 12, we can divide into 12 semitones, but each of the semitones is different. Either with the Pythagorean system or the Chinese system, they are all different. But the Chinese are concerned is that we're using the cycle fifths to rotating the note. Finally, we could not reach to the original because there is always a very little discrepancy. And also, this system existed in the Pythagorean system also, but the Chinese also want to resolve this problem because they think that heavenly bodies are always rotated to its original starting point, like the day and night, the 12 months, every day, each day is 12 when we started from the beginning. But in the metaphysical level, the music cannot act the original after the cycle fifth. However, in the Pythagorean system, in the West, they are concerned with why in these 12 semitones, the difference are very different. Each semitones are different, but they didn't realize the scientists until 15th century something, as the mathematical developed into a certain level, they realized we have to resolve the 12th square root of 2. And this is a big breakthrough when they realize if we want to make each semitones in different in same distance, we have to resolve this. But the calculation was first done in China, at least 4 years before Simon Stephen. And Simon Stephen's calculation is not very accurate. When we look back to both the Chinese result of calculation and Simon Stephen's calculation of result, but we find the results are different. So the mathematical, so this is very interesting. And we always, when the Western musicologists, American historians discuss the ancient discoveries, are always focused on waste, and the Chinese always focus on situation in China. So this is related to the historical research, how the West and the East contact. Now we know that actually the Alexander's invasion is almost into the area in India. So there could be some kind of contact in the very early time. And so after the Renaissance, there must be some more close contact between the West and the East. But this is really interdisciplinary research involves not music, not scientists, but also the historians. So both this is still a very interesting area to the research in many disciplines. I don't know whether I understand.
No, the point was very simple, my question. Namely, in the Western tradition, in the Greek tradition, since the 4th century before Christ, the mathematicians were well aware of the fact that there is a difference between rational and irrational, non-rational proportions. And that leads later on to the concept of integers and irrational numbers. For example, roots. And my question was, when did the Chinese scholars become aware of this difference? Was it in modern times, or with the introduction of modern mathematics in modern times in China, or was there also a discovery of this fact in the old Chinese tradition?
Oh, and maybe I can say it this way. I think the ancient China realized that the problem, that irrational numbers, that is problem. But the roots is a solution. The solution did not, they did not realize the solution until the 17th or the 16th or 15th century, until they realized solution. Before they find the solution, they realize this is a big problem. And this is related to not only to music or the mathematics issue, but also the political issue. They realize this is a big problem. But even during the Pythagorean time in China, they also realized this problem, but they did not realize the root, because mathematical development was not at that point yet. The root is not discovered during that time. So the root is a solution to this, but people did not discover this solution until very, very late time in the 15th or 16th century. And after realizing the solution, how to apply this solution to resolve the music problem, that is even later time, then we discovered the 12-tone equal temperament. When we can do the transposition modulation in the Western music, we see the keyboard music, We see the tonal music. Now we see a lot of then West music is very developed by this solution in mathematics discovery.
Mhm.
And
Thank
when
you.
you talk
Yeah,
the other
good, fine. Yes, that was a clear point. Yeah, thank you.
Are there other questions for you? So anyway, I have a little question regarding also the question of Klaus Mainzer. Pythagoras tried to discover the middle of the octave. After discovering the overtones, he wanted to discover what happens in the middle of the octave, the first, the fundamental, and the first harmonic. And he discovered a very strange interval. It is a tritonus, diabolus in musica. And this is in fact the beginning of his research, mathematical researches. And it was his very famous theorema, Pythagorean theorem. Beginning with in search of a musical interval, he discovered the irrational number in mathematics. And this is a question also of Klaus Mainzer, when happened, if it happened something in China from this point of view. And on the other hand, I would like to ask you, do you think about correspondence between human beings on different continents without being in a contact? Do you think about from the anthropological point of view, which brings people to think about have a choice for special pitches? So, you know, there is an infinite continuity from the pitches, but people in America and also in China and in Europe from very old times, they choose special intervals, special pitches, and they are in correspondence. This may be something anthropological.
Right. So let me go to the first question first. So actually, you know what, Pythagorean discoveries, not all in music. The Pythagorean tuning is just part of Pythagorean theory or Pythagorean system. And in this tuning, he always used the perfect fifth, generate perfect fifth, always the one direction. So when you generate 12 pitches, it cannot come back to the same starting point. The discrepancy right now in the West is called the Pythagorean hammer. It's like 24 cents. So this tuning system, this scale is called Pythagorean tuning or Pythagorean scale, and become basically always a perfect fifth up, pivots up, then one octave down, one perfect fifth up, one octave down. But in China, they also call it 1/3 deduction and reduction, 1/3 addition, which resulted in the perfect fifth up, then perfect fourth down, perfect fourth up, fifth down. Then when the 12 notes are slightly different with the Pythagorean tuning, but the final problem are exactly the same. They have a Pythagorean hammer, or this is called an Ionic hammer at the 24 cents. So we have same problem and different caused by different approaches in Pythagorean method and also in the Chinese method, and the same problem. But the Chinese, this is a very serious problem. This problem in Western becomes a very practical problem. This doesn't matter. It's music problem. But in China, it's not only music problem. It's related to the emperors. We have to resolve the problem. We have to explain this situation. Otherwise, the government will be the court as a problem. So many authors, many scholars try to resolve this problem that can be resolved by the rules, but did not, because mathematical development is not reached that point yet. So
thank you very much. It's a universe.
Okay, second problem. Actually, this is a very strange, very strange issue. So this is beyond our actually relation anthropological research and also historical research. So this could be anthropological. If it's anthropological issue, that is means human beings are be able to find the same problem in different continents without any contact. So that's a hypothesis. The other one is, according to some people's idea, that maybe if one person traveled from one continent to another one, so one sentence of a word, the knowledge is spread all over the places. So this is not to prove it, but this is a possibility, and maybe one traveler can spread the civilization. Yeah. So it's hard to prove it, but I think this is still a possibility. Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Violeta, I would like to add a little comment on this interesting discussion regarding the Western, in brackets Greek, for example, Pythagoras, etc., which was many times, referred into in the presentation, and the Chinese analog. Just a layout. This is that the ancient Greeks, like ancient Chinese as well, we know from history, from archaeological finds, believed that music had a divine origin. And in Greece, for example, we have the Apollo, the god of light and beauty, who was also, the god of music. In Greece, on the one hand, we have almost 50 around fragments of musical documents, like the hymn to Apollo in Delphi, Sicyl's song, throughout the centuries in the first millennium BC. And the Chinese, on the other hand, call Greece Shila, because which the original name came from the vocal description of Hellas in Mandarin. Okay, word which was established from Alexander's, at least, era 5th century BC and later. That is important information regarding if there was any relation, any networking between those two great cultures. So, although some basic ideas concerning the music in Greece and China came from earlier periods, not only 5th or 4th BC, it reflects an earlier centuries than the middle of 1st millennium BC, and rested primarily on myth or tradition, both in China and in Greece. The beginning of systematized, for example, concepts of the philosophy of music was developed in these countries, both countries, during a period of strong influence, remember that, by philosophers and founders of great religions. For example, in the 6th and 5th and 4th century BC, we have Lao Tse, Confucius, Shunju in China, and on the other hand, Pythagoras, Plato, Aristotle in Greece, who are teachers and guides to new and important principles and beliefs. Okay, so the time span, we're talking now the music discussion between China and Russia, the Russian numbers, at the same time seen here and there in Greece and China. In China starts approximately 550, middle 6th century BC, with the birth of Confucius, remember, and to the end of the Chu dynasty, which is middle of 3rd century BC, 250, something like that. During this dynasty, the court music reached in China the zenith, and together with rituals and the music occupied the most important, prominent place in the education of a person there. On the other side, the Greek period began with Pythagoras around about the same time, middle of 6th century BC, and continues to 320, Alexander's the Great times.
Right.
Okay, with the rejection of tradition, with a consequent vulgarization, I could say, of music, resulted in an almost virtual disappearance of classical music in those times, as it had been understood in earlier centuries. So in both cases, in both regions somehow, music is related to many other, entities like astronomy, mathematics, physics, life, in a natural, physical, or divine, order, and the scale of interaction and between those two people, it's a matter of investigation, starting from the material culture, golden, for example, jewelry, etc., which are Macedonian art found in northwestern China, etc., or the terracotta soldiers that first time, made such soldiers which are resembling the statues of Greek art. So one answer to what comes, first, etc., is either in the interaction between these two people, yes, Silk Road, etc., or the other assumption, possibility is that both independently, autonomously or semi-autonomously, they developed, an archetypal. They had an archetypal conception, which is found in the brain of all people, wherever you go in the world, and it was expressed, in the ways that we today receive it from either Greece or Babylonia or China. That was a comment, no more. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shall we try? Shall we try now to further questions?
Let's go to the next speaker. Any questions for the STEM?
I have a short question. In the middle of this incredible cosmos of changing things, so incredible creative, I saw it was a spot with success, and final score. I just want to ask if final score is that means score partitur, or it's another notion. This final score.
It was my student in Singapore who is looking at mathematics and music.
So he is a composer, because
yes.
Score is so it was a composition.
Yes.
It was so fast that they couldn't identify.
Yeah, so we will have papers very soon about this in the Mathematics and the Arts journal. So when we have it, I will send it to you.
Okay, I would like to say something also about this the great extension of applications of STEM into arts and culture. It's amazing, and changes the image, and the impression with societal benefits and with educational as well, apart from innovative ways in research, of course. So I'm looking forward, dear colleague, to have more discussion, because now the time is, short, to how we can, I noticed several things, in your talk, to extend these innovative things and to merge with some good ideas that I have regarding the Greek cultural heritage. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I also had the slide, and then you can find it. We have a special issue in the Mathematics and the Arts journal. So if you would like to write a paper about this, I can share my screen if it's, but I can send you the link to
Please
this.
do, yes. It is a book now, it's coming.
It's a journal. So
it's a journal, sorry, yeah.
So it's the Mathematics and the Arts journal. So this is the...
Is it in Scopus, this journal?
Yes. It's Taylor and Francis. So
Fantastic.
then this is the topic. So it's interactive learning environments. So anything which is connected, mathematics and the arts, we are doing. And I will send you the call as well. By the end of June, we have the deadline.
So we can include culture as well, cultural heritage.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, 3D, printed, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yes.
And the
I have also another question. So for you, so you are from Hungarian origin.
Yes.
Yeah. So is it true that the language, the Hungarian language, is very intense combinatorial, and the famous Rubik cube has to do also with the ability of the characteristic of the Hungarian language, which is much more combining than the German language?
Yes, so I think there are studies that how complex is Hungarian. I think then there are people writing about it, and then why mathematical thinking, and then also why mathematics is so influential in Hungary. I'm a bit skeptical about this. I think it's a bit Japanese also. I think there are some kind of studies, so it's possible, but I'm not sure exactly if it's the case, but definitely. So I was a mathematician. So originally I started as a mathematician. So in Hungary we have very huge emphasis on mathematics, and then it might be connected to the language, but I cannot really definitely say that this is the case.
Thank
So,
you very much. So our president has also a question.
Yeah.
yes.
That was very impressive, of course, and exciting to see all these activities nowadays for illustration, mathematical structures and objects. And it is more or less in the tradition of the late 19th century and the early 20th century, when mathematical structure, Riemannian surfaces, and three-dimensional objects in geometry were illustrated by materials in the so-called mathematical exhibitions of mathematical museums. And these kinds of objects were represented, I think, in nearly all mathematical institutes in that time. And nowadays, of course, and that was very exciting, the representation of these structures and objects by the modern media and even machine learning and so on and so on. Now, in the beginning, I mentioned my engagement in the so-called MINT education. You know that in Austria too.
Yes.
Or STEM in the English translation. And so I'm especially interested in the connection or the application of mathematics in the physical reality. That means modeling, things like that, especially in technology. And here I remember a famous quotation of Eugen Wigner, the famous physicist and mathematician who was engaged especially in the development of symmetry research in the 20th century. And he says more or less, I wonder why it is possible that mathematics so nicely, so wonderful fits physical reality. So I think that is absolutely amazing. Why is that so? There is no convincing, at least in all details, convincing answer to that. And I think that is a fascinating question, even for pupils in schools, for students, and of course, for scholars too. Are there any, from your side of a didactical approach, are there any methods or means to illustrate or to motivate young people to find an answer? Yeah.
Yes. So I think you have lots of things to mention. So what you mentioned in the 19th and 20th century trends. So essentially everything is repeating itself. My colleague in Cambridge, Kenneth Ruthven, wrote an article about this kind of new development of modeling and technology. And then he illustrated that it was in the end of the 19th century and 20th century, very similar debates happened then what is happening now. So he just made these quotes, And then it was like very relevant now, even we are using different technologies and different modeling techniques. And yes, definitely, I know the MINT didactic here in Austria and then also in Germany. And essentially now we are trying to make a kind of network in Austria with all the STEM and the STEAM education colleagues. But I think what I mentioned here, that the arts is not only the fine arts or the paintings, but also in this kind of creativity and creation of something,
Wow.
in which I try to illustrate. So we try to connect all of the subjects with a creative way. We are doing lots of project-based learning, and then also connection of subjects, and then connections of the digital and the physical world as well. So through this, we really would like to motivate students to explore, for example, symmetries with so Wigner, also a Hungarian who contributed lots to physics and then also to mathematics. So yeah, we are working all of the, so the projects that I showed you, it was very a subset of projects. We have many more things what we are working it. So we are trying to have this kind of innovation and creativities and motivate students and teachers to integrate all of these activities in the classroom with a more connection of different subjects, and I think we will be able to do this. And then it's really interesting that how engaged the students are. And then also I see my colleague Mara Alagic, who is in the US now. She was a visiting professor at our university, just posted the link to the special issue. So thank you very much, Mara. And what I also would like to mention, that we are very happy to host people. So we always have lots of visitors trying to generate ideas and share ideas with colleagues.
Look, thank you very much. Look, Ioannis, we have a question for both of you from George Duca. Thank you very much for this interesting discussion about scientism, but not only classical music can be interesting. What would popular music and scientific creation look like?
Popular music and scientific creation.
Yes.
Who?
Professor, you, please.
Yeah.
What is the
popular music is the traditional folklore, popular also.
and the scientific what's the how scientific or the popular music, how scientific method can be used on the popular music? Is that right? Or what's the question?
Yeah, something like this. So if you have an idea.
Oh yeah, I think first of all, I have to define what's popular music is, and this is very important to define what popular music is. Popular music is what's the difference between popular music and traditional music. I think that the traditional music are basically made by human beings with mechanical devices like piano or violin. Although no electric device are used. Now the popular music is very, now it's the definition. If we define popular music as I think itself, all popular music use the almost all of them use the electronic devices like electronic guitar, the many of the now, without electricity, then we have no popular music. Even a concert, you need the microphone, you need a electronic speaker, and the difference, the basic difference that popular music we need.
I think you are right, but we have to make the definition. What is popular music? What is traditional music? I suppose a question has to do with something like traditional music, also not composed music, something which is not composed, not classical music. But so I suppose this is a question. So Georgia Duka.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you.
Thank you. For me, it's very interesting for me because I present Moldavia and Romanian like you. And it's very interesting because la music is like creation, popular music. But I understand and I accept this explaining for Professor Yu. I like.
Anybody else, Violeta?
Yeah, maybe I just add that what we're trying to do, we are trying to connect composing music, creating music, and connecting to mathematics or connecting to digital technology. I showed this project with a Sonic Pi, which is like a Raspberry Pi based software. So the students are composing music on the side. It's more like DJing. They are creating music, and then it's very successful. They are learning music, and then they are learning mathematics and computer coding as well. So we'll have a paper about this probably in 2 months.
Thank you very much. I think it's suggesting just making music like a DJ without knowing music, without knowing how to write a composition. You are just creating imaginary scores. So just directly using the wonderful feeling of creation of just with elements which already exist.
Yeah, then that's exactly what we are doing in this project. That we give some basics and then students create on the spot. And then we had a very big concert about this with music created on the spot by the students.
Okay, if there is not any other question, well, if there is anything more, we could write straight to the speakers, I suppose, also their presentations and a summary of their presentation, including details with email for communication, are always uploaded in the European Academy of Science and Arts website. As I have send a message in the chat, you can see the website, so you can see also the previous meeting colloquia that were very successful, and you can listen to the presentation and see the summaries as well. So there is a straight, open accessibility to our speakers.
And we would like to invite you also already next week, because in 2 weeks we have Easter time here. So the last colloquium will take place the next Friday. And we hope very much to see you again.
Yeah.
Next Friday.
Fantastic. Thanks, Violeta, for reminding us. This is the last week, the last colloquium for this year, this spring. Then the next term starts in October. I thank you very much from me and Violeta, from all of us, dear speakers, dear colleagues, dear friends, for the excellent discussion. I am sure, I believe that the European Academy of Sciences, our president, members of the Senate are proud and privileged to have speakers in this as members of the academy in such unique specialities. And thank you very much once more. Thank you everybody for your attendance and for your presence, and hopefully we see you next week.